All right. Hi, everyone. It's Tracy Root with the Gather community, and I am super excited to be back with you today to talk about this beautiful lady that's with me. This is Gina Coviello. Gina is a self-love coach. And that's a big part of why she shows up beautifully, because she has this like inner glow about self-love. And isn't that something that we all want more of? I'm super excited to have Gina in our Gather community as a creator, starting this, couple of months ago or whatever it's been recently, because, well, and depending on when you're watching this, anyway, in the fall of 2024 is what we'll say. Because I recently have had a chance to engage with Gina and her workshops and her teaching over and over again. And every time I feel a little more ready to say, yes, I love myself. And isn't that beautiful? It makes me so happy. So Gina, thank you for being here. And I don't know, I mean, I know that we've talked about that a little bit, that each time I go to we just did your workshop the other day. And every time I go, like on your quiz that you start off with, my score's a little bit better. I'm a little more willing to say yes to some of the things that we look at in how we feel about ourselves. So it makes me very happy, and I appreciate all of your support and love for that.
Pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about how you decided, how did you become a self-love coach? How did we get here? Tell us the story.
It was a long journey to get here, I have to tell you. So it is a little bit of a story, but I will try to keep it on the shorter side. So I was born into a family, lovely, hardworking, honest, beautiful parents. But when I was born, life throws us curveballs, and they were not in a state of being able to give me the nurturing that, would be ideal to raise a child in this loving, nurturing environment. We had 3 generations in the house. My Italian grandparents, and they were from Italy, lived with us. My dad was a first generation American. And both of my parents, and they stayed married until one of them died many years ago. And then I have 2 older siblings. So we had 7 people in the house. I was the youngest member. Mm-hmm. And there was at least one person from each of the 3 generations that had a lot of internal wounding. And that internal wounding, which we all have internal wounding, but they dumped their internal stuff onto me. I think it had to have started as a newborn. Because by the time I was 3 years old, and if you think about a 3-year-old does not know who they are. They don't know anything about the world, right? A 3-year-old is just full of everything is new and wonderful, and what's this and what's that. And by the time I was 3 years old, I had been told so often that I was unacceptable. There was everything about me was wrong. Everything I said, everything I did was bad and wrong. And I decided at 3, maybe 4 years old, that there's something seriously wrong with me. I am not fit for human consumption. And I, as a toddler, chose to give up who I was because I was starving for approval and attention and validation and a place of feeling safe in the world. Like nowhere that I went did I feel safe. You can maybe see this, I'm really, really fair skinned, and I got teased horribly. I'm one of the fairest people you will ever meet. I got really, really teased about my skin coloring too. So, excuse me.
Are your parents from Italy? Are they on the dark skinned kind of side of things, or was that just in general?
That was my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family, Irish and Scottish. So for sure, the very fair skinned people. Yeah. Yeah. So even when I went out of the house, I was still told there was something really wrong with me because my skin coloring was repulsive to people. So anyway, I grew up thinking there's something really, really wrong with me. And I became a complete people pleaser, self-sacrificer. I spent my life trying to make people around me happy because I needed to feel like I fit in somewhere. Yeah. Right. And of course, when you do that, I didn't know this, but when you do that, you're not being you, and people pick up on the fact that you're not being authentic. Right. So I grew up being told I was not fit for human consumption. So I had a really warped sense of who I am and my place in the world. and what love looks like, because the only love that I knew at home was filled with emotional abuse.
Mm.
So that was my normal. And I didn't know that there was a different kind of love out there. And so as I grew up, as I chose friends and romantic partners, I chose people who were not capable of having healthy relationships either.
Mm.
I didn't know that, of course, but that is, now I can look back and say, yeah, I chose some really, unhealthy
Poor
people.
choices.
Yeah. And sometimes, and even family members, you think you have to accept your family because they're your family. Well, no, you don't have to. But anyway, I learned that later.
Yeah.
So when I was 54, which was 3 years ago, I had this really, really tough emotional year. And I hit my emotional rock bottom. I was like, I can't take it anymore. People are horrible. I'm a nice person and people would treat me horribly. And I kind of decided I wanted to take myself out. Like, I can't do this anymore. And so it didn't last very long, and I never did any harm to myself. But I hit that bottom where I'm like, I something has to change. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I, for the first time in my life, my subconscious chimed in and said, Gina, I do this. It's like me and my subconscious. So it's a
Sure.
we,
Yeah.
we really do deserve something better than how people are showing up. And it is time to start behaving differently in the world. And I didn't know at first what that was going to look like. But at the time, I was an interior designer. I love interior design. I loved designing my own home. So I turned it into a business. I wasn't honestly enjoying doing it for other people. So in this moment of clarity that I deserve better, I decided that is not the right career for me. I need to do something else, but I had no idea, what do I want to do? I didn't know,
Yeah.
because I didn't know who I was, right? I'd spent my life tending to other people's needs, and I did a really great job at that, but I ignored what was right for me. And
Yeah.
so at 54 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do, right? I'm a divorced single mom. I've got to provide for my children and me now. What the heck am I going to do? I don't know. So I decided to take a year off, and I was lucky that I could do that. I took a year off, and it ended up being 2 years actually, and just started paying attention to me, getting to know who I am. And it was really embracing self-love, but I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. But I'm like, I have to figure myself out, finding myself. Maybe they used to call it finding yourself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I did. And so that has led me to, I, got over my fear of public speaking, right? As a people pleaser, and I was told everything I said and did was wrong. I was afraid to express an opinion if I didn't think the other person would go along with my opinion. So
Yeah.
saying being authentic to who I am was really painful for me, literally. The internal pain, the nervousness,
Yeah.
all of that. And
Upset
so
stomach and yeah, all of it.
and this, you can see even I'm still a little red in the face now, which is still like I'm still getting over this, but it's so much better than it used to be. Um, and so I found my voice. I found that my finding self-love is what I chose to start speaking about. And I found that people are actually interested in this topic.
Yeah.
And I think it's a super important topic. But finding self-love changed my life in a very big way. I am no longer so afraid to speak my truth. I've gotten over my sugar addiction, which was about masking internal pain,
For sure.
right? So
It's
all kinds
drug.
of, yeah, so
Self-medicating.
many people do that. And it's with other things as well, but so many people are addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, whatever
Yep.
it is. A lot of that is masking internal pain. We're trying to fill holes with something that isn't going to fill the hole.
Yeah.
Self-love fills those holes. And that's what I've discovered. My life is completely different now. Like even 2 years ago, this interview would have been super scary for
Well,
me.
we wouldn't even have scheduled it. Like you weren't.
No,
Yeah.
no, I would have found a reason not to do it, right? It would have been super scary. And now I'm like, I'm actually feeling pretty comfortable. So it has been a huge boom, boost to my life. And I really want to help bring this to the world. I actually think that self-love is the answer to everything, all of the world's problems. If everybody had a healthy state of self-love, there would be no war. People
Right.
wouldn't be, you know, afraid that someone who comes from a different country was going to take their jobs or their resources, right?
Yep.
You know, as our friend Katarina Rando always says, there's enough pie to go around.
Yep.
If we were all in a state of self-love, we would know that with
Yep.
certainty.
Yeah.
So self-love is super important, and I'm here to change the world through self-love.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Woo. So it's so powerful because it really, because you're absolutely right that the more people can be like, I'm enough, I'm worthy, I am super happy with exactly who I am and how I'm showing up and how I'm relating to like all of the pieces of that. And when you're teaching, often you start with a few different categories, right? Like romantic partners, your own personal fulfillment, like all of these different areas,
Yeah.
because self-love is total. It encompasses all of you, what you do, who you are, how you show up, what you think, all of the pieces. And it's so great because what I love about this is as you're talking and you're saying self-love is like the answer and there wouldn't be war and all that stuff. And it's the same things that I say related to having community and being
Yeah.
connected to other people. And of course, you can't authentically connect to other people if you don't feel confident and loving about who you are. And so
Yeah.
you're going to get the individuals and I'm going to put them together.
That's right. Right. Because you can connect to other people without loving yourself, but they're not going to be healthy relationships,
Right.
right? It requires you and the other person to be in a healthy state in order to have a healthy,
Right.
fulfilling relationship. Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
having a community is so important. So important.
Well, and what's great is, when you're in a community and you're working on your self-love, right? Because it's a journey for all of us
Yeah.
to move from where we are to the next level. That when you have supportive people around you who can see what you're doing, they can see you for your journey instead of put you in a box, right? That we're all developing, we're all
Right.
becoming who we're becoming, and we're all loving ourselves more every day, hopefully. And a community of people who are supportive and like-minded are going to give you space to change, right? Because that's what people don't do when they're not supportive, is they don't hold space for you to change. And that's exactly what we do together.
Yeah. And in fact, people are threatened by,
Right.
if you're the one growing and changing, they get threatened by that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's not giving you space, where they're afraid of
Right.
losing you, maybe. And
Yeah,
so they try to convince you not to grow because they're afraid for them that they're going to lose you.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a
Or
big,
yeah, because they're afraid they're gonna lose you or that you are gonna decide to leave them. Right.
right.
It is definitely about the breaking of what they view as a relationship, but really the person who's growing is seeing it for what it is more accurately. And the person who's
Yeah.
sticking in one place is like, but it was fine.
Well, it's not fine anymore. It's not serving me anymore. And
Right.
it's okay to let go of people. You can do that with love, right? It doesn't mean you have to hate them or be angry at them or never talk to them again,
Right.
but you can lovingly separate. Again, it doesn't mean you can't ever see them again.
Right. You
They're
just
not in
see
your
it for
inner
what it
circle.
is.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that it's okay.
Yeah.
And I wish you well on your journey. I'm headed in a different direction and I need something else. And it doesn't mean you're not enough. It's just not serving
Right.
my well-being anymore. And I
Well, in
still
all
love you.
relationships, really, I mean, 0 to 100 in what that relationship looks like,
Yeah.
right? You've got acquaintances that are friendly, you've got actual friends, you've got good friends, you've got my BFF, you've got my husband, you got, like it's a whole spectrum of connectedness.
Yes.
And it doesn't, just because you're connected doesn't mean everyone's at 100. You can still be growing and have that relationship, if it continues to serve you, evolve in its place on that spectrum. And if they're growing too, you might grow together, you might grow further apart, you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
And
kind
you
of see what
have to let
happens.
You have to let other people be where they are,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
you can't force growth on anyone else. If
Right.
they're not ready to grow, you have to let them be where they're right. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, you know, and you have to just be okay with that. Let them be where they are and you do you. And with love, you let them do them. Yeah.
Do you ever talk about like boundaries? Because I think that's a really big topic that people, like you were talking about, family is family, but they don't have to be your best friends, basically, is what you know, in a nutshell, kind of what you're saying. Like you are related, doesn't
Yeah.
mean you have a relationship if it
Right.
doesn't make sense, if it's not, you know, full of caring and love. And so, you know, this happens a lot, of course, in political world these days. Of course, we're coming, it's almost election day
Right.
2024. And there's a lot of families out there that have this rift because of political tendencies,
Yeah.
leanings, whatever. And, you know, sometimes it's a deal breaker. And sometimes it's, you know what? I had a mentor who always said that our values bring us together and our, you know, policies, the politics will pull us apart. So if you can tie together with your values and what you care about and why you're connected to each other, sometimes you can put a boundary around discussing the other stuff without feeling like you have to change them, which you can't.
Right, right, exactly. Right. And I would say it should be more about curiosity. Like,
Yeah.
let me, right,
Understand.
rather than saying I'm right and you're wrong, how about let me understand your position? And let's
Right.
just, you know, how do you feel about this topic and why? And where did that come from? Is that your cultural upbringing or your religion, you know, whatever? And just to have the
Yeah.
understanding,
Right.
because it's so sad that our country really is tearing apart because we're trying to make the other person wrong.
Right.
And it shouldn't be about that at all. We
And
all,
it's a lot of black and white, right? And what you're
yeah,
talking about is finding that middle ground.
yeah, that gray. We all have our own perspective, right? And my perspective is not right and yours wrong. They're just different perspectives.
Right.
But we can still work together to find solutions for the majority of the people, you know, without saying one is right and one is wrong. Let's just, yeah. So
Most of the time we can.
most of them,
Sometimes people are just, you know, the boundary that needs to be put in place is a big wall,
yeah,
depending on where everybody's at. But sometimes that boundary is just a line of chalk and it can be changed. It can be, you know, you can figure it out as you go along and it can be adjusted as we grow together.
yeah, hopefully, right? Yeah,
Hopefully. Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, that was a way to tie all that together. I love this. And like I said, I'm so thrilled to have you in our creator membership. And because I feel like what you're bringing is a really unique perspective to relationship, to self-understanding. You know, we always say that the Gather community is about personal and professional development. And
Right.
if you have that personal development where you understand yourself, you are happy with what you're doing, who you're becoming, where you're going, your journey forward, then it's going to help you grow as a person and make better connections with others. It's also going to help grow your business because we are our businesses,
Exactly.
right? We can't say, oh, that's business and this is me, because especially for most of us who are solopreneurs or parts of, you know, smaller companies, smaller businesses, who we are is what shows up out there in the world, in our advertising, in our marketing, in our social media. It's so important to have that authenticity be something that people can see is positive and enriching for not only for you as the teacher, but also for them as the student. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And self-love does touch every area of your life, right? And you are your business. You're absolutely right, Tracy. And in order to grow your business, you have to grow, right? You master a certain thing. And once you've mastered that, your business isn't going to grow any further, right?
Yep.
Unless you grow. But growth usually means getting outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
And there's a beauty in recognizing, okay, if I want to go to the next level, yes, it's uncomfortable and I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. And I'm going to trust myself,
Yep.
trust my message, whatever it is, and move
Yep.
towards fear is self-loving, right? My getting over my fear of public speaking, that's exactly what I did. I wanted to do it. I was super afraid, but I said, in order to get over it, I have to do it.
Yep.
And I trusted that my message had value. And I found out that I was right.
Yep.
Once I embraced my message and owned it and started delivering it, and I saw that, yeah, people do like this message, but I had to force the growth. It's not easy. It's not comfortable, but that is how you move forward in life.
Right.
And it is self-loving to move forward in that way, to face the things that you are afraid of, healthy fears, obviously.
Right. I'm wondering if you did what I did. Before I created Gather, the space, I had the thought in my mind for, I don't know, at least a year before I ever said it out loud.
Right.
Or said it to another person. And, that's, I think, a big part of that, owning your voice and your journey. Like, until you say it out loud, it's not part of the voice.
Yeah, it's not real.
Literally not in the voice.
Right. Very literally.
Yeah.
Until you put it out into the world, it doesn't exist. And you have to be ready to put it out into the world, to say, this is what I'm going to do. You have to be ready. And we're not.
You have to be ready enough to understand that once it exists, it takes on kind of a life of its own in a lot of ways too.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Depending on who you're talking to, you're going to get feedback, depending on who, what you decide about that. And because what I want to do is make sure that people don't say, well, then I'm going to wait to say anything.
No, don't wait.
That's not good. Right. But what I'm saying is, when you speak it, it becomes real on the planet, right? It's in the world. You speak it to another person, and now the two of you know about it. And then it can grow and it can grow. But before you say it, it can't grow.
Right. And this is part of manifestation, right?
Yeah.
Speaking what you want is more powerful than thinking it. They both work, but speaking it puts that vibration out into the world and makes it, stronger. Yeah, absolutely.
Think it, and then I write it, and then I speak it. And if I speak it to nobody, like on a video, it's not nobody, it's literally everybody, because it's in the world.
That's right. It's out there for anyone to hear and take a hold of. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I love this. And like I said, I love having you here. I am excited for your journey with the Gather community and being a part of our upcoming summits. We've got the winter celebration coming up. We've got different things happening. And, I know that a big part of your practice in growing your business is to be around and support people regardless of what the structure of that is. So I know that we're going to see you at a lot of things. I know you've got programs and workshops that you're working on developing and bringing to light. And so if you're seeing this video and you haven't yet experienced something that Gina is doing, whether it's a workshop or some program or a speech, definitely check out what we've got going on for her in the Gather community on her landing page on our website. You can also find her social links and all of those things so that you can follow her, find out what's going on, and start to learn how to have greater love for yourself. Sound good?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
excited too. I'm really excited to be a part of this community, Tracy. And thank you for giving me the opportunity for all of us to come together and to help each other out, right? It's not a one-way street. It is, everybody helping each other out. It's a beautiful community. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Yep. I'm thrilled. Thanks for today. And I can't wait to see you again.
Okay. Sounds good.